Hi there, I'm Mary Susie from Bead Me a Story, and today I'm going to show you how to make this double rosette bracelet. So the first thing I want to tell you about this weave is that it's just something that I came up with. This is kind of an unbalanced European weave, and it just showcases these little rosettes that are throughout it, and they kind of sit on the bias as you see them. Okay, you can see each of these is rosette. And this particular version of this bracelet is probably the loosest one and the easiest one to work with. So I wanted to introduce this first as the beginner version of this weave, and then I will be bringing in some much stiffer ones that are kind of fit more like a bangle because they'll be real stiff and real tight. And so there are other versions that you can do with this, but this is by far the easiest one to learn from. And then we can go on and do some different sizes of rubber O-rings and jump rings with them. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so the materials for this project are about, you need 60 rubber O-rings for a medium-sized wrist. So if you're 6.5-inch wrist or smaller, you're fine with just one bag of rubber O-rings. You can see these are our 7.4 millimeter O-rings, and they come in a bag of 60, fortunately, so that makes things really easy. Now, the jump rings, you're gonna need 80 for a bracelet, because as you can see, each row, there is 1, 2, 3, 4 rings, and whereas the O-rings are 3 per row. So you're gonna need at least 80 of these for a medium-sized wrist. And even if you have a larger wrist, I think you're okay with 2 bags of the jump rings. These are 18 gauge 3/16 jump rings. They come in bags of 50. If you plan on making a ton of stuff, I of course have larger bags of 300 in this size, but if you're just doing one bracelet, then this will do it for a medium to small size person. If you need a larger size, then go ahead and add an extra bag of rubber O-rings in the small bags of 7.4 millimeter rubber O-rings. And that's basically all there is to it. You can of course do this in any colors that you want. We have all sorts of beautiful color combinations. I do think that because there's more jump rings in this, keep in mind that your jump rings are gonna be what's showing the most, what is noticeable on your wrist. So you're gonna see a lot more metal than you will rubber. So I think it's a real nice idea to have a little bit darker colored rubber and have the jump rings kind of show through with a little bit lighter color. But of course you can do that in the opposite way if you choose to. But I think that's the nicest way to do this bracelet, is to have the jump rings really pop out. So keep that color a little bit lighter than the O-rings, and that will do so for you. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the tutorial. Okay, so to start this weave, you'll notice that I went ahead and opened all my jump rings first that we're going to use for this first weave. And then I have my rubber O-rings in the size that I want to work with. And what I'm going to do is take one of my first open jump rings. I'll pick up 4 rubber O-rings, and then I'm going to close the jump ring. Okay, so easy to start. So now what we want to do is we're going to swing 3 of the rubber O-rings to the left and have 1 sitting on the right. Okay, and there's a couple ways to do this next step, and the next step I'll show you. I want to follow what I did in the written tutorial for this first one. So I'm going to take this next jump ring. Okay, you'll notice I put my thumb down and I pick up my items so that they're laying the same way, 3 on the left, 1 on the right. I'm going to pass down from top to bottom, down through the one on the right, and then up through just the top one on the left hand side. So out of those 3, I only want the one at the very top. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to place 2 more rubber O-rings over on the right. So really we've got 2 jump rings now in the middle, and they're separating 3 rubber O-rings on the left and 3 rubber O-rings on the right. And I do think, I don't typically do this with this weave, but if you want to put a paper clip or put a tie through these first 3, I think it's possible. I would just do it loosely if you're going to do that. But after we get this first row in, you won't have to worry about losing its shape. Okay, so make sure everything still looks this way. 3 rubber O-rings over here, 3 over here, 2 jump rings in the middle. Now what we're going to do on this bottom jump ring is we're just going to mimic what the first jump ring already did. So this one down towards the bottom, I'm going to go down through just the one on the right hand side, and I'm going to pass up through all 3 O-rings on the left hand side. Okay, and then once I come up through there, I want to actually pass through this jump ring. Okay, so I'm passing through the jump ring that I'm mimicking. So usually when I'm doing this, I'm making the rings parallel to each other, but in this case, passing through that other jump ring is what's going to make our rosette formation. Okay, and you can see that that creates a little like spiral situation. Okay, now I'm going to pick up my next one, next jump ring. Now we're going to do this at the top. So we're going to mimic what this is passing through. So we'll pass through, oops, we'll pass through the 3 on the right. Sorry about that, knocked it out of my own hand. But at least we had that first rosette. That's helping me to put this back in place. Once you get that first one in, makes it a lot easier not to lose your place on this. Okay, so I'm going to go down through the ones on the right from top to bottom, and then I'm going to come back up through this one on the left. But when I'm on the left hand side, I only want to pass through this very top one. Okay, so this is just like before. Okay, down through 3. So before we went down through this 1 and we picked up 2, but now we're going to pass through all 3. Okay, I'm going to come through just this top one on the right, and then this time I'm going to push from back to front through this jump ring. Okay, so when I was on the bottom one, I pushed from front to back, and this time I'm going to come from back to front to create my second rosette. Okay, and now we have one row of this completed. Okay, let me lay it down for you. Okay, so you can see we have a rosette here and a rosette here. Now after this first row, this is going to get a lot easier not to lose our place. But you do have to go through the growing pains of the first row sometimes to get there. Okay, so now just like before, I'm going to pass through. I've got 3 so this right hand row of 3, this is now going to become my left hand side, and then I'm going to pick up 1 rubber O-ring, and I'm going to close my jump ring. Okay, and then as I said before, I'm going to show you a different way. So in the tutorial, I always went down through the single and up through the 3, but this time what I'm going to do, and this just speeds you up, so once you get the hang of this, you can do this. You can pick up the 2 first, okay, and then I'm going to go down through my single rubber O-ring I just added, and then back up out of just the top one of these 3. Okay, so very simple. This is an easy weave, and it's possible in like a zillion different sizes. So this is a nice size to start with, not too big, not too small, very stretchy to wear, very forgiving size wise. Really easy to size out because it's each one of these little groupings of jump rings and O-rings is about a 1/2 inch. So that's part of why I thought this was a good one. Good size to start with in this particular weave. Okay, so now I want to create my rosette again. So I'm going down on the right, down through just the single, oops, up through the 3, and then I'm going to pass through this jump ring from the front to the back. And that cross through the jump ring is what's going to make the rosette. Okay. And then I can see my 3 over here on the side. And I want to mimic this top one again. So I'm going to pick up another jump ring, pass through the 3 on the right, and then the one on the left will be just the top one. And then I'm going to push through this jump ring from back to front. Okay. So now we've got 3 rows of rubber O-rings and 2 rows of jump rings. Okay. So let me just real quickly add another row to this. And I probably won't talk as much. I'll try and talk my way through it, but I added 1. I picked up 1 rubber O-ring on the right, passed through the 3 on the left. Now I'm going to take another jump ring. I'm going to pick up 2 rubber O-rings, pass down through the one I just added on the right, up through just the top one on the left, close the jump ring. Okay, now it's time to create my rosettes. So I'm going to pass through just the bottom one on the right, up through the 3 on the left, pass from front to back through the jump ring, and close. And then I'm gonna take another jump ring. I'm going to pass through the 3 on the right from top to bottom, come back up through the one on the left, just the top one, and push from back to front through the jump ring. Now it's really important not to set this work down where you don't know where you were at. So it might be a good idea to mark the start, or like I said, not really a big problem if you want to put a paper clip or a twisty tie through here, just to keep track of it. But pay attention to the fact that this bottom row is shifted to the left of the top row, which is shifted to the right. And that's going to help you if you do accidentally drop it, or you are just trying to find your place again, to understand that the bottom row is shifted left and the top row is shifted right. If you were to accidentally flip it over or do some things like that, it can be very easy to lose your place. But otherwise, you can see this is a really easy weave. I want you to just keep going until you get to the full length, and then I will come back and show you how to finish this. Okay, so as you can see, we've got the full length of our chain made. Okay, and if you look really closely, you'll notice that all of the jump rings are passing through in the same way. So, you know, that's why I wanted to make sure that you're doing your rosettes in the same direction. On the lower one, front to back, and on the top one, back to front. You're going to be doing that consistently the entire time. Okay, and then when we get to the end, what we're going to do is we're going to treat this just like we would we're starting any other chain, any other row of the chain. Okay, and I'm going to bring the start around to the front, and just like before, we're just going to pass through 1. So we're passing through 3 on the left, 1 on the right, and then we'll go ahead and close our jump ring. Okay, so we've got that one. Now for the second one, for the upper jump ring, we're going to go ahead and pass down through all 3 that are on the right. 1, 2, 3. We're going to grab just the top one on the left, and we'll close the jump ring. Okay, so that pretty much closes the end of the chain. Okay, and then we just add our rosettes, just like we have been doing. So on the lower one, we want to pass through 1 on the right, 3 on the left, pass from front to back, and close. And then for the top row, we will be passing through 3 of them on the right side, just 1, the top one on the left, and then we're going to push this jump ring through from the back up to the front to finish it off. Okay, and then you have a continuous chain. So this is a very loose version of this weave. This is a great one to start with because it's, like I said, very stretchy, very loose, fits very easily. You can really see your rosettes in it extremely well. And then once you master this, you'll be able to go on to some of the tighter ones and see how that works for you. And they'll probably be more like a bangle, but there's a lot of different ways to do this one. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Please be sure to like and follow me on YouTube, and all of the kits or supplies for this project are at beadmeastory.com. Thank you so much.